podcast and take this walk with me.
Welcome back to the Three Parallels podcast with your host, the Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we are, we embrace who we were, and we make room for who we're trying to become. If that is you, let me be specific. I'm a coach and I help neurodivergent, high achieving young professionals overcome perfectionism by adopting the Gator mentality. What's the Gator mentality? We'll talk more about that later. Because today we are talking about OutKast. As you all know, and if you don't know, you finna know. I'm bringing a guest in who has the same love, if not more, than the same that I have of the same group that helped us even become connected. It was the beginning of a connection related to music, but not just any music, a particular genre of music, a particular group of people that we connected with on a whole new level. And today we're coming to you live from OutKast Studios. And where are we today? The beautiful campus of Hillman College. We are here on campus, finna have this conversation talking about one of our favorite artists. And I brought back one of your favorite guests on the show, the one, the only, Dr. Julian Magee. Welcome back to the show, baby. And we are here to talk about OutKast. So I want to open it up and hear your perspective on your love, your admiration, your appreciation for OutKast. Let's rap.
Yeah, OutKast. I would say this, and you know, y'all can get at me if you want to. It's probably the only CD, the only group that I have never burned. I bought every one of them. That's how much I appreciate and love, even when I didn't have any money at all. So, you know, don't act like I'm the only one, because I know some of y'all now still, you know, you pirated somebody's Spotify account. You ain't even got that on your own. You ain't even got the free version. So don't come at me. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was a love from the beginning. The first time I heard Southern Playalistic Cadillac music, being from the South, because it was the first time I heard something that reminded me of everything. It was some blues stuff, it was some funk, it was some hip hop, and it was me. I mean, I'm not from the East Coast, I'm not from the West. I could appreciate the rap there, but this was like, oh, this is homegrown. This is like cornbread and collard greens. This is, you know, uh candy yams, sweet potatoes. You know, it's all that stuff. And you hear it in the songs and the music reflected in the lyrics. I don't know if y'all can see how excited I am right now just talking about it. And it was the fact that, you know, even the name Outcast was, you know, they're outsiders in this different way. And you could see it in the dress. You had the dandyism that you see. So like the Dapper Dan, it was just, I don't know. It was Southern lifestyle elevated, and I'm probably gonna have a real Southern accent as I get really talking about it, because that's just what it meant to me. You know, I could be. It was a reflection of being from the South and, you know, sounding like this. You know, most people would call it country, right? Not from the South, but they made sounding country be something that everybody want to do. You know, like you know, like quarter horse sliding in on skates. You know, it's just that kind of language, and the visuals that I could see, that I could feel, that I could hear. The music was is still very real and very relevant to me. Um, so yeah, that is, you know, I even got Idlewild. I bought, watched the movie, everything. That is not to say that that's a bad thing, you know. And I got the Flute album, so I don't care what y'all say. You know, Andre, greatest lyricist, OutKast, greatest rap duo of all time ever. There will never be another one, and I'm saying never in 2025, and it could be 24, 25, and they still gonna be the greatest to me, even though I won't be here to see. So that's my love and appreciation for OutKast.
I love it. I love it, man. Thank you for being you. Thank you for bringing this energy, this Southern hospitality to the podcast. Because for many of you who have not had the opportunity to dive into this world of Southern playalistic Cadillac music, this is an opportunity for you all to be introduced. So I got to be mindful of my audience, because everyone may not understand, may not connect, may not comprehend. But by the end of this episode, I expect that anyone listening will have an opportunity to dive into a world that we come from, that we're a part of. So for the listeners who may not be familiar, I want to help you get familiar before we dive all the way in, because Dr. Magee already put his foot in this Southern playalistic Cadillac music. So the dynamic duo of OutKast, it's an R&B it's a hip hop group from the South, with two dynamic rappers, Andre Benjamin and Antoine Patton. Andre Benjamin is actually Andre 3000, for those who don't know. And then Antoine Patton is Big Boy. So we know them as Big Boy and Andre. Like, them are fellas, them are boys. So they grew up in Atlanta at the time where the South wasn't respected in hip hop because of the East Coast, West Coast. A lot of things going on in the East Coast and West Coast related to hip hop, where in the South, even though there was a lot of great music coming out, a lot of great hip hop artists, no one was able to kind of break past that barrier. But OutKast was the first group, in my opinion, and in our opinion, that was able to break across those different coasts to stand out as their own. And they did it. And with that came several other artists because they laid the foundation, in my humble opinion. And because of their shift in the culture, it connected us because we were outcasts as well. So being an outcast, you kind of connect with other outcasts. So Dr. McGee and I met not on the beautiful campus of Hillman College. We met on the beautiful campus of University of West Alabama in Livingston, Alabama. And one of the things we connected on was being an outcast, meaning being very different than the people that we were around. And that kind of connected us. And what connected us even deeper is our love and appreciation for Outkast by hearing the music and having the same reaction or response to it. So, Dr. McGee, if you don't mind sharing this definition, this idea around being an outcast and your introduction to the group.
Well, yeah, like I said, for me, I was younger, so my closest sibling is 8 years older than I am. And so he had an Outkast album. And like I said, I played. And in my house, could nothing play but the blues, the gospel, and whatever my mama wanted to hear, pretty much. And so when you had those breaks, if she was gone or something, then you can kind of listen to what you wanted. But and I remember listening to Dre, Stu, Two Live Crew, NWA, all that stuff. Again, stuff I probably would have got beat for because I probably was just a little bit too young to be listening to some of this stuff. But I don't know. When I heard Outkast, it was like the first time I heard Donny Hathaway. And I mean, in my house, I can remember the first time I heard Donny Hathaway. It was a Saturday morning. My mom was up cleaning, started the day, and I hear this song come through. And Outkast like that was for me, but it connected with me because for me as a child, I was like, it's one of these things where you hide how smart you are. Again, you're different than the people around you. I wasn't the most athletic. I wasn't, this or that. I just tended to be different. I like to learn. I like to read. And I think people around me knew that I was smart, but it was just one of those things that I didn't feel like I could just put out. It was like I always knew something that I was trying to learn. And so Outkast to me gave me that permission to be different. I could be the outcast and I could rise to the top because of it. So I think it was just that connection alone that, I think differently. I feel differently. I walk differently. I look differently. I can do that and I don't have to conform. And conforming means death in a way, but outcast to embrace being an outcast was to live and to live a life that was full of color and live, and I could still take all these things, and I think about it from Andre's verse in Walk It Out, you know, and excuse the language, but he's ain't a hood nigga, but a nigga from the hood. Mama stayed on me, so I turned out pretty good. And then it's like those types of things for me. Just hearing that was like, yeah, I ain't a hood nigga, but I am a nigga from the hood. Excuse me,
This show is PG parental advisory for today's episode because we're going to be using language that may not be the most common in 2025, but this is the language that speaks to this group. It speaks to us. It speaks to our upbringing. So we're speaking related to a different time. So please know, for those listening, sensitive ears, this is the language that we're using for this particular episode. So for me, and I appreciate you sharing that background of the personal connection all the way to the connection of who you are and who you decided to be. And I feel the same way. The group kind of allowed me to be who I am because I can't think of any group that gave us permission to be us. Like, we're not that far removed as far as age. And you see these two guys that's different and they're Southern. So for me, growing up in the Midwest, I spent my summers in the South. So every summer, no matter what, I'm in the South. My parents divorced when I was like 2, so I had mom in Ohio, dad in Alabama. So that's why I was in Alabama for the summer because I was with my dad. And during this time, I had a cousin at the time, Smoke. Shout out to Smoke. Give him some love to Smoke. They called him Smoke, but his name was Darren. Darren Fulgham is a cousin that my big cousin that introduced me to OutKast because he was always ahead of the curve. He was always ahead of time. He was the coolest cat I knew, and he was listening to this music that I never heard of. Very similar for your experience with Donny Hathaway. For me, I connected OutKast to Southern culture. So the Southern culture, I'm talking about red dirt and Southern hospitality and soul food and blackness and black folks and that's what connected me to the South. So when I heard the songs, it felt like a background soundtrack to my life at the time. And for me, every summer, I already do. Me and Smoke, we finna get together. I don't know what I'm finna hear, but it's finna be amazing. So when I first was introduced to Outkast was back in '94. The Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music album dropped in '94. I was 13. And the first song was Players Ball, which for many people don't know was actually a Christmas song. It was designed to be a Christmas song. And there's nothing about this song that makes you think about Christmas, but that was the intention in order to get them out. So big shout out to L.A. Reid. L.A. Reid was a part of LaFace Records. He connected with Clive Davis. So Clive kind of gave him the green light, and Babyface and L.A. Reid created LaFace, and they saw this hip hop duo, and they knew these guys were next. These guys were it. So they put them out there with this Christmas album to get them out there, and the rest was history. And we were a part of that. And it was a great experience. So imagine being a part of Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes when they first hit. Like imagine, I can't imagine my mom, my dad, they were around the time when this band first started, you know what I mean? Before Teddy P left. So thinking so for us, this is the closest thing to it. This is the closest thing to history. And I gotta shout out to this history that here we are in 2025, and these brothers just got inducted into the Music Hall of Fame this year, which is another reason why this episode was so timely and so needed. So, by experience, that's what this hip hop duo came to me. And then years later, so I'm 13 at the time, Julian 14 at the time, or 13 as well. And years later, we're in, 18, 19 years old at University of West Alabama, years later, and we hear the song together and it's automatic chemistry, it's automatic connection. So I'm curious to know what it was like for you, especially during the time we're in college and we made frequent trips to Atlanta and just being a part of the movement of the Outcast era, because with the Outcast era came the Dungeon Family, Goody Mob, all these other artists that we were connected to directly and indirectly. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that transition from childhood all the way to college, listening to this dynamic duo.
I feel like you said it best. It was and I still think it is the soundtrack of my life. Not my life then, but my life. And again, even the evolution now, even, so that was the Stank on You, Speaker Box and the Love Below. Speaker Box and the Love Below, and I'm like,
Yes,
what do
indeed.
you mean, Andre and Big Boy gonna do two different albums on the same album and this and that? But I mean, if you can't get with Prototype, Behold the Lady, I mean, Hey Ya, even I don't care what you might think about it today. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I feel like every time we were going to Atlanta, you couldn't take the trip up 20. Um, it's 20 East, Interstate 20 for those of you who are not geographically inclined to understand the South, um, and not play Outkast. And the thing was, because it wasn't just the soundtrack of your life, it was this appreciation of everything that you kind of been told to hate. Again, when
Mhm.
people are not from the South, you have this perception of it. And it's all these things of it's backwards, it's this, but when you realize it's more culture here,
Ah,
or there, I'm not in the South right now. And I do have a love-hate relationship with it, don't get me wrong. But I it's where I'm from and I would not change it. I love going all over the world, but I would not change being from the South because I feel like it gives me this connection and this deep, deep understanding of so many things. And that's again how I've viewed OutKast and what it has meant to me. So again, going from that child 13 to now this semi-grown, like my dad would say, I was a half-grown man, um, navigating life and exploring. And these songs start to have a deeper meaning. And I
Yeah.
can go back and listen again with new ears. Even one of my favorite songs to this day is Liberation.
Hmm.
There's a fine line between love and hate. You can't wait too late, and baby, I'm on it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And then, and I think about it, how that changes given the things that have gone on in my life. And again, I just told you I have a love-hate relationship with the South. And there is a fine line there, but it's home to me. It birthed me, it bred me, it made me who I am. It's instilled lots of things into me that
Yeah.
I can't shake the roots from that tree. And I wouldn't. But I know the history of those roots. They bloodied, they have toxic generational things in it, but it also has love. It
Mhm.
has the strength of family and connection. And, there are times where I long for a Southern day just
Yeah.
to hear somebody say, "Hey, y'all doing? How y'all doing over there?"
Yeah.
And again, how y'all doing over there?
Yeah.
Not how are you all over there? It's
Yes. Yeah.
lyrical. Even the way we talk,
Yeah.
just being from the South, I feel like it's a lyricalness. People say it's sing-songy, but
Yes.
I think that's just what you get from being there, and you experience it. Outkast has allowed people to have that, and you hear it from in the art of storytelling. And
Mhm.
through all of their albums, there are stories. There's those
Yes.
skits, but that's my uncle talking
Yeah.
to his wife, his girlfriend, or his wife and his girlfriend sometimes, somewhere like that. Not putting nobody business out there. I didn't say which uncle it was. Um, um, you know, that's my cousin yelling at her boyfriend. That's my auntie. She tired of whoever else. And but I hear these stories and it's home to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I laugh, but they just hit different. And it was this way to say, okay, this is cool. This thing that
Yeah.
you've been made to say is bad in some places is this. And it gave me license to truly be able to express Southern culture in a way that I don't think before had been fully appreciated. And maybe it had in some other genres and things like that. But this was my time. This was my coming of age to say, this is how I appreciate and connect with the South and why I still will proclaim it. I am as Southern as a white picket fence, as they say. Like you said, those dirt roads, that red clay. I know what you mean. Sweet tea sitting on the front porch.
Yes,
And it
indeed.
don't have to be the nicest front porch. It's just that's what it is. I can
Yeah.
smell the air right now. I'm transported right back to
Hmm.
that place, to those places. I can be in that car headed to Atlanta, you know, to the frat convention, to whatever, going over to Morehouse, seeing the sign that say Decatur, you know, all of it,
Yeah.
Headland and
Yeah.
Delowe.
Yes,
It's
indeed.
it's 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 natural, like I'm in those moments, and I don't know anything else that has ever did that for me as far as could transport me to this place. But I can see, here's this community and connection. This is being black from the South in this way that's just so it's magical in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt, man. And I appreciate the teleportation because we just teleported to the past. We teleported to the South. Because I'm in California. So you just took me back because I had an 18-year stint in Alabama and I had the same love hate relationship as well. Even though not being from there originally, I'm a part of the South because for 18 years of my life, I was there. And I lived through a lot of those things. And we know the history and our people and the connection and the background and family and then ancestry, all of that plays into it, which was also integrated in the music, with Andre and Big Boy, they have similar stories that we have. And I think that's another reason we were able to connect to this duo because although they were so different, they were so together. They were so the same. It was kind of like the yin and yang. And the best way I can describe Andre and Big Boy is, Big Boy on the front end, cut your throat, shoot you, like knock your head off, about business. We ain't finna play. We ain't got a lot of time to play. Andre, more sensitive, more emotional, more connected to his internal energy and knowing himself. A little quieter, different. And that's what he came out to be. Now, when they first came out, they were very similar in a lot of different ways. But by the time the second album dropped in 96, AT Aliens, that's when things began to shift. So the next 2 summers, like when I first went down to Alabama to hang out with Smoke, 2 summers later in 96, he introduced me to AT Aliens. And I'm like, what is this? Who is this? And he's like, yo, this is the same group from a couple years ago. I'm like, how? How, Sway? I could not understand how this same group that just put something so beautiful together 2 years later come up with something completely different. And it's also beautiful. Had the whole state talking about me and you, your mama and your cousin too. Rolling down the strip on Vos, coming up, slamming Cadillac doors. If you was in the South during 96, it was the
Dude.
anthem. It was the anthem. I don't care who you are, where you from. That song had you moving, rocking, connecting, building, curious, excited. It just had you a lot of different things. And that's the beauty of music. Music has the ability to connect people, period. I don't care who you are, where you from, what your age. Certain songs, certain music will connect people. We can be in the middle of a war, civil war. We can be in the middle of it. You put on some OutKast, everybody good. Everybody good. Like a comb over nap ass hair. Listen,
Like a hot comb from that ass out.
it's culture. And for those who aren't a part of the culture, know the culture, this is your introduction. It's familial, it's family, it's connection. And I agree with you 100%. I can't think of any other artists, any other music like this that's part of this that you can connect with on this level, personally, professionally, and even intimately, because again, it's the dynamic duo. So with that, there were 2 albums even before we got to college, which was AT Aliens and then Aquemini, where you put Aquarius and Gemini, you put them two together because they were also growing individually and professionally, just like we were growing at the same time. The difference is their growth they put in their music. Our growth was just out here. It's just it's just whatever, wherever. But their growth was in the music, and we saw it, we heard it. Their appearance changed. Their style and how they rap changed. Like it was their music video changed. Like a lot of things changed because they were changing as 2 men. And we were able to witness that, whether we knew it or not, we were witnessing their growth and their change, even the change in the dynamics of their relationship or their friendship. We had access to that. And I'm sure it was difficult. I can't imagine what that was like for them because they were growing individually and creatively, being connected. So, Andre, his creativity and just thought process way beyond the norm moved him into a different direction. And the same thing with Andre, with his passion and his integrity, they just move into different directions, but they still were able to connect and collab to make great music. And that's what led, big shout out to Shasha Thumper. For those who get it, you get it. For those who don't, they don't. But like you said, our era from college started in the Stankonia area, which was in 2000. They just celebrated 25 year anniversary of Stankonia album, but there were still 2 albums before we even got to college. So if you think about it, we are 4 albums in. These are 4 different lifestyle changes that we were able to witness and listen to and then be a part of. So I'm curious for you, what was that like with the transition of growing up with this group and seeing them grow and change, and you were growing and changing at the same time?
I think it helped to say that change is inevitable, right? You hear it, you see it, but it's again for something that was so real and transformative, period, a group. The music is this, they are this
Yeah.
transformative entity. and again, it's like, yeah, you're gonna go through these stages in your life, right? You're gonna change, you're gonna grow, you're gonna adapt, you're gonna try some things. Be okay with that. And be okay with yourself. And I think that's what it was for me to like take a chance. I remember I started in college and I started somewhere, and 2 weeks later, I was like, you know what, this is not for me. So I just made the decision to go to community college, and I stayed there. But I worked hard on this is not my next, this is not my end. And then I came to West Alabama. I drove to Livingston because somebody told me about it. I had
Mm,
never heard of West Alabama. I was
mm.
either going to go to the University of Southern Miss. I could have gone to Ole Miss. And notice I'm saying Miss. I'm in Mississippi, but it's like I don't want to stay here. Now, there was no part of me that thought I was going to go to Alabama because to me it was the other Mississippi. One just faced east and one faced west on the map. Same place. And regardless of where you're from, I'm going to say that. That may be a hot take for some, but they are really the same place. Alabama people think that Alabama is better than Mississippi. Mississippi people think that Mississippi is better. I'm here to tell y'all the truth. It's the same place. We neither one of us are better. We are the same. Thank God for Arkansas is what I say. You know, we're better than Arkansas, baby. But we are the same place, same people, everything.
Yeah, and let's please. Oh, this is so good. Please, we got to add Georgia in there too. Georgia, y'all, we not finna eliminate y'all because y'all part of this too.
Oh,
Everybody cousins. We all cousins.
oh, well, Georgia just has Atlanta. See, people, you can live in Atlanta or be from Atlanta, and then you're from Georgia, which is Mississippi and Alabama, all at the same time. So if you, and I'm not talking about you 70 miles outside of Atlanta, because that's Alabama on the east side of the state. And in South Carolina on the east side is South Carolina, on the west side is Alabama. So yeah, I'm talking about being from Atlanta proper. Not
Oh
all the
man.
cities, people from Savannah talking about they're from Atlanta. No, you're not. You
So
might
this
be
is a
from,
geography lesson for those two. Again, this is part of Southern culture. Either you know or you don't. Now you're getting introduced. You're getting introduced because these are all facts. Okay, depends on who you
right,
ask, but these are all facts to us
right,
because
very
of
much
what we
so.
experience. And you can have a difference of opinion or belief, but that's what it is. It's an opinion. It's a belief. But these are facts based off of what we know because there's evidence. I don't care who you are, where you from. There's evidence. So going further within this group, the dynamic duo, and just growing, what I love that you were able to connect to is just your transition, your transformation, because I was in transformation as well, because who I was in high school was very different than who I was in college. And I feel as though, OutKast was a part of allowing us to be outcasts. For example, Stankonia, when that album dropped, 2000 was the year I pledged. So I pledged Alpha. We're both members of the oldest, the coldest, the greatest fraternity in the world, Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, established December 4th, 1906. And being a part of this fraternity and connected to the music took me and my life to the next level. For example, for those who don't know, let me introduce you. There is a playlist for this podcast, and this playlist has been curated for over a year now, and we're still rocking and rolling. And a lot of OutKast songs that's put on this playlist is because of these experiences that we've had. And one of the songs from 2000 from Stankonia album that was on repeat was So Fresh and So Clean. Because every morning when I got dressed, that's what I played. I don't care if I was putting on sweatpants and a t-shirt. I'm playing this song every day when I woke up because it was a mantra. Ain't nobody dope as me. I dress so fresh and clean. And it's not just what I wear, it's what I think. It's how I move, it's how I react, it's how I respond. And being a part of this fraternity, and especially when Julian came along, it just enhanced my life in ways that could have never happened because I was exposed to being different. I was exposed to wearing a suit to class or having a shirt and tie on going to campus or even knowing or learning how to tie a bow tie. That was a part of my era. I didn't have that growing up. So for me, I didn't learn how to tie a necktie properly until until I was in college. Until I was in fraternity. I didn't know how to write a check properly until I was in college and became the treasurer. So the fraternity also enhanced my entire life. That was connected to this hip hop group that we were connected with anytime we went anywhere, just like Dr. McGee just mentioned. It didn't matter where we were going and what we were doing. OutKast was a part of it because it was a part of our era at that time. And then from So Fresh and So Clean to Bombs Over Baghdad, it was an anthem. And then Miss Jackson, it was an anthem. We're in the South. We know about Rosa Parks. She's still around here kicking it at the time, suing folks for the song. Okay. We were a part of that. And it was a really big deal that we did not take lightly. And what's so amazing, and I'm sure you can attest to this as well, even though it's 2025 and they just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, we knew how great they were then. We knew who they were going to be then because we never seen anything like it and won't see anything else like it for our lifetime. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I think it's two things you said there. I think about being on campus then, and I joined in 2001. I'm sorry, spring 2002. Um, I was there for so long, it felt like 2001, spring 2002. And I think about even the fraternity for us, the chapter. We were small. We were the
Yeah.
outcast within our state district. We were
Mm,
the outcast on our campus
true
because,
story.
we weren't the largest, but we did some things when we were in school. I won't go there
I
because
mean, we
this
can.
is
We can.
no, 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 no,
We
no, no,
can.
no. I am not at the point where I'm giving out NDAs now, so I just maybe in the future, but just know that I appreciate my time there. But again, I think it was that we were doubted, we were different. I mean, like you said, so fresh and so clean. One of the lines, canary yellow, talking about the dress.
Mhm.
And we wearing those yellow shirts. I mean, I
Yeah.
wear a pink shirt. I had no problem with it. But for me, I'm like, I can see Andre put on a blonde wig, go out in some, don't
Shoulder
know what.
pads, fluffy
Right.
pants.
And I know I'm not Andre, but you know what? If he can do that, I can at least put this yellow shirt on. I can throw
Absolutely.
this bow tie on. I can throw it on with
Absolutely.
jeans and try it differently. And yeah, and people may laugh, but again, I think we're talking about Southern culture where there's this thing to conform. And you're either this or you're that. You can't have a blend of anything. And we're like, why are these rules here? Who says we can? We the
Mm,
outcasts, we're gonna do it. We're gonna try it. We're just going to do. And I think about the awards we won from a fraternity
mm.
standpoint. And I think about just how we changed the game. We went from having parties in the club to having parties in a neighborhood, shutting down the whole neighborhood, block parties, everybody looking forward to that. So again, it allowed us to see and do something different again in that same era. So why couldn't I go on to graduate school? Why couldn't I become Dr. Julian Magee? Why couldn't you become Dr. Jason Branch?
Yeah.
And everything else. And it sounds crazy that we're tying our success to this group and their music. But again, I can't separate them because it was there every step of the way. And
Yeah.
everybody I knew had OutKast albums. Again, I probably would have wrecked my car sometime reaching for in my looking for my CD case in the back seat, trying to reach and get my out because if I'm on a real long road trip, because sometimes I'll just get, again, being from the South, you just get in your car because you just got to drive and go and I'm switching CDs and I'm like, oh, what's next? I want to hear this one. So now I'm reaching under the seat. Please don't do this at home if you're driving now. You shouldn't have to. But if you do still, just pull over, pick it up,
Yeah.
and put your CD, drive safe. But I say all this to say that it truly was one of those things. And I can't speak of any other group,
Yeah.
artist, music that has had that kind of impact that I could trace everything that I've
Yes.
done
Yeah.
that has been there.
Yeah.
Even as it is, we're talking about a song or an album is 25 years,
Yeah.
not the group. The group has been around
Exactly.
even longer than that.
Exactly.
And like you said, it was already 3 albums before we got to college.
Yeah.
But I can listen to them now and remember where I was standing on the stoop or just leaving the cab or,
Yeah.
you know, hearing the little skit before Prototype, and
Mm-hmm.
I won't talk about that either. Again,
Listen to the
I'm not
album,
putting
y'all.
on. Yeah. Please do. You'll
Listen to
understand what
the
I
album.
mean by that. But and then going into Prototype,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
saying the line, "Ooh, you know what? She know what she want out of life. She do.
She do. She do. So
She know."
it was not only a part of our culture, it was a part of our vernacular. It was a part of our vocabulary. It was a part of our conversation every day where we
Right.
can speak in code and nobody knew unless they knew. And you don't know unless you're a part of the culture or know of the culture. And one song in particular, I will always credit because this was before I even got to college. So background to the front story. You mentioned how you got to West Alabama. I'll share my story how I got there. I had an uncle and a cousin. Big shout out to James Snow, Greg Snow, who was excellent on the show, little uncle. So they both were in college in 98, 99. And they told me, hey, man, you need to come to West Alabama. And I'm like, for what? I'm finna go to the military. And they's like, nah, before you go to the military, you can always do that. So come to college first, come kick it. And if it don't work out, then you can go to the military. That was my recruitment. So I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. And it was like, listen, come to college, man. It's women, you can drink, you can smoke, you can do whatever. I'm like, huh? What? I said, how often you in class every day? I mean, this is how ignorant I was. 7 days a week. I don't want to do college 7 days a week. And they say, where did that come from? We here Monday through Friday, maybe two or three classes per week. I said, what? They said, listen, come down here for your spring break. This was in the fall of 90, the summer, spring break, 99. Come down to college. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go down there and see what's happening. So my spring break for my senior year, I was on campus at West Alabama, and the song that was on repeat was Spody Odie Dopalicious. That song played my entire spring break. We listened to it 6 to 8 times a day on repeat the whole week. And again, this is my introduction into college, and that song connects me to choosing West Alabama because the song had so many stories within it that connected to us and our first experience in the club, first time trying alcohol, first time being with a woman, first time being in college, just the first time for everything. That song represents the first time for all of us in a lot of different ways. First time getting drunk is, drunker than Cooter Brown, like the first time of everything. And that whole week, that was the song in the background. And that was the reason I went to West Alabama instead of going to the military. It was the best decision I ever made in my life because I went to college and, I played. I did exactly what they told me to do. I did, I did that. But fortunately, because of the fraternity, I was surrounded by people who knew what they wanted to do out of life. And it wasn't to just be an alpha. It wasn't just to play. It was actually to get degrees. And Julian was a part of that. So I later discovered this yin and yang that Andre and Big Boy had. I had the same thing with Dr. Magee and Dr. Togan. These both were my yin and yang. And the three of us, this trio, who are all now doctors, big shout out to the pack, they are now doctors, we all were different, but the same. Because just like I talked about Andre and Big Boy, what was external, meaning what everybody saw. For me, what everybody saw, party. I'm finna kick it. I'm the life of the party. I'm finna step. I'm finna play. I'm finna do everything. But there was this emotional being and this very intellectual being underneath the surface. For Julian, and this is just my opinion, Julian, I would love to hear yours. For Julian, what I saw with Julian was this emotional being, but that was hidden because what was in the forefront was intellect. Julian could be in a room and talk from anybody. We can talk to the president all the way to the janitorial staff. And it was good because of intellect. He had this ability to communicate with intelligence and be intelligent. And then Tawal, the completely opposite end of the spectrum of just driven, motivated, very black and white thinking. Like we either great or we not. We either gonna do this or we're not. And he just had this tenacity of, I'm going to be the greatest ever in whatever it is that I do. And I'm connected to these guys who poured into me what was underneath the surface because I poured into them what was above the surface. And we all were able to use our strengths and our abilities to uplift and enhance each other. And it connected right back to OutKast. So I'd love to hear your perspective about this yin and yang mentality for college brothers. I sound like I sound like somebody we know. All these college brothers. So these college brothers, but we were there in the same time and growing and changing with this group and with us, and then to be where we are today. I would love to hear your perspective on that upbringing for us.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. I used to say, especially with the two of us, that what you saw on the outside of you was on the inside of me, and what you saw on the outside for me was your internal. And again, I think the same with Dr. Togan Taiwo, um, and maybe pulling both of those things together at time, you know, very much so. And it is that it's these dualities, right? I can be this and that. I don't have to be a either or. Now, this may be my dominant role. This is, I often say, and I am a Gemini, so I mean the twins. But I call my alter ego. Somebody once asked me if I had one, and I say, yeah, that's Jules. And when Jules shows up, he's something else. And there have been times that Jules has shown up and been something else, speaking of Spotty over there, Dopalicious, it's like say I felt like I achieved the whole of that presidential. My heart was beating so damn fast. Well, Jules has moments like that. Now I don't know if it was some old or that presidential, but it's probably the reason why I don't drink vodka today. I'll say that. But we've had some moments and some things where it's like, oh, I would have expected this from you, but not from me. Or I would have expected this from me, but not from you.
Yeah.
And I think it again, it shows us that we had this ability to kind of move outside the lines, blur the lines, right? Because we were always been told this is what you have to do. But what happens when you don't think that way, when you don't align with everything that you just been told, which also
Mm.
I think puts us in this contradiction. Well, being from the South, right? And this is one of those things that, that love hate is where you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to graduate college. You're supposed to get a job, and you're supposed to get a good job. And you got that good job. Why you want to leave? Why you want to change? You don't get venture too far away from here.
Mm.
And I think part of that is because we are so beholden to here's your family, this is your culture. You got to hold on tight to that. But who says I have to let it go because I'm not in this place? I can take it with me and continue to transform. And again, it comes back to that. Um, again, that outcast transforming, but also it's the yin and the yang. I am more than just this thing, and I'm not a bad child. I'm not a bad son. I'm not a bad this because I don't subscribe to everything that was told to me. I question and OutKast question some of these things. Even when you listen to some of their lyrics, I know I spoke earlier using some of the lyrics, and again, that's not how I necessarily would allow someone to describe me today, um, or in that way, But I think about they weren't necessarily misogynistic in the way that you saw a lot of rappers be. It was,
Yeah.
even telling the story of Sasha,
Yeah.
even in telling the story,
Oh,
of
Miss Jackson.
Miss Jackson,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even, stripping on a pole. It's this, these people are more than that,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
And I
know.
love let's dive into this a bit. What you're saying, these people are more than that, where they were able to tell the stories and that there still was that level of respect for women. We can talk about it. It's honest, it's true, but there still was that level of respect, in my opinion, that wasn't the same from the East Coast and West Coast rappers. It was very different. And that's that Southern hospitality. Southern hospitality. For those who did not know, Sorry Miss Jackson was a song that talked about Erykah Badu's mother. For those who are not aware, Andre used to date Erykah Badu back in the day. She was wearing a turban similar to what he covered up his dreads with, which he was rocking at the time. When he was trying to find something real in this world, and he started liking this girl, and we know her as Erica on and on Badu. Call Tyrone on the phone. Why you do that? But
Do
listen,
that
we ain't got to do all that.
like that.
We ain't got to do that. But I just need y'all to see us. I need y'all to see us. So he's telling the story of falling in love with this woman because of what she did for him, because of who she was, and the relationship didn't work out, and they had a baby, and then the baby mama drama. They both talked about baby mama drama in the most respectful way possible through song. You're not going to get that, in my opinion, from any East Coast or West Coast rapper. It's going to be bees and hoes and everything else. But they were able to tell a story of tragedy to triumph in a way that was respectful, that was Southern hospitality at its finest. And you can't make that. You can't see that anywhere else. So going back to what you were sharing, it wasn't it wasn't in this malice or rude way. It was like, hey, we still have to tell a story and we're going to tell it our way. And they did it in the best way. And I don't know anybody else who could do that.
Right. And I mean, again, I think about that today. I talk about I'm divorced, but I don't have this, I don't refer to my ex-wife as in outside of her name. I still have disrespect for this woman. She's a beautiful black woman, intelligent, one of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life. And it's like that, you know. And even in the song, it says, "Why you do that, girl, like that, boy? Y'all to be ashamed. That song ain't about me, and that ain't my name."
Come on.
Talking
Come
about
on.
Carl Tyrone, and then I think about that. How many people can say that? And that was
Yeah.
me. It's like I want to be amicable. I married this person. I had this love and respect for them. He was in love with this woman. They birthed a child together. They did one of the most beautiful things you could ever do with someone.
Yeah.
But we don't have to be like that. That song ain't
Yes.
about me, and that ain't my
Yes.
name.
Yes.
And so again, it just comes full circle to every time I've had something major in my life, I can go back to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can trace back to the lyrics. I can connect again, and then I'll keep bringing this point up about how just life changing. I think
Mm,
when you study it,
yeah.
because we weren't around for the time of Shakespeare. And again, so
Mm-mm.
this is my nerd self coming out. Again, it's the duality, it's the yin and the yang. But we study the sonnets of the great poets, right? And we study the poets of the Harlem Renaissance because that resonates with us, especially
Mm-hmm.
when you're black and you talk about these struggles. For those of us who came up doing rap music, and I'll take a lots of it, all of it, but especially I think if I printed out the works of OutKast by the lyrics, these are things that I could do a class on. We
Yes.
could teach a class on what's the deeper meaning, what's the theme here, what do you hear? This is what this
Mm-hmm.
means. This is that connection. This is
Mm-hmm.
about living life to the fullest. This is about overcoming the triumphs or overcoming and triumphing the tragedies in life.
Yes.
Um, and so this is art at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's art in the way we want to tell it. And not just that is not the respectability politics of, I mean, I love James Baldwin, I love Richard Wright, I love those things. But I get to see somebody closer to me in age
Yes.
doing this thing very differently that I can now study and I could use these as guides and bridges for life, just as I would looking at William Cullen Bryant and Thanatopsis, which is a meditation on death. I look at liberation the same way. Again, there's a fine line between love and hate. And then that has Erykah Badu on it. Up in your face, you're a superstar. Niggas hang around you because of who I are. Say they happy for
Mm-hmm.
you, but they're really not. Make $1 million, make a million more. First class niggas treat you like a nigga po.
Come on. Come
I
on.
mean, and I think about that. Those are not just words in a song to me. That's making me say, oh, I can have this wish for this thing, but somebody is still going to treat me like where they
Yes.
think I came from.
Come
And so
on.
what does it mean to tie this in to say, what's the most important thing? Is the pursuit of this thing? Because I will get there one day,
Yeah.
but it's going to be those things that I was rooted in, that I got in the South, in this culture, in this family. So what I hear is don't make material things your God. Build yourself
Mm-hmm.
on something deeper. And
Yeah.
you know, whatever spirituality they are, I hear it because in the South, it's the church in there.
Come
And
on.
it's this thing, it's connection. It is connection with Africa or and our disconnection even with that at the same time. And I can study it and use it to apply to my life and how I change. And what other thing I don't know. And I keep coming back to I don't know what else I could study that would give me the same thing.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. And you just planted a seed for somebody, me included, where you can take the history of the OutKast albums, who they are personally, professionally, like the whole genre from 94 to 2025 and beyond, because this still doesn't end. People are still craving for OutKast music. People still want André to drop an album. People still want Big Boy to do these things. So this is forever until they're gone. And even when they're gone, the legacy continues. How do I know? Because right now, Michael Jackson got 5.5 million followers on Spotify. People listening to his music actively. 5.5 million people still listen. I view OutKast to be the same way. And what you're talking about, man, is so powerful, it's so deep. And I agree with you 100%. This can be a degree, not alone a class. This could be a degree in learning to be somebody by embracing our differences, by being okay with being different, by being okay with being an outcast, because that's what they let us know. In addition, when André, and I want to also speak about, not just the Love Below album, but the albums afterward. Even last year with André dropping his album, that was a flute, like instrumental music, was still impactful and inspirational because of the evolution. And even sharing, like, I don't feel as though André now, I don't feel like I have anything to rap about. What am I going to rap about? Colonoscopies? You know what I mean? Like, that's his evolution and growth, who he is as a person. And like, that's us too. We're in our 40s now, and we were introduced in our teens, 13, 14 years old. And here we are in our 40s, and still the love and appreciation is there, if not more. And you said something, I want to talk about it before we close out. Overcoming the tragedies. And this music allowed us to do it because they talked about it, they experienced it, and they shared. And I want to share something that you and I both have, and I want to share it on this platform because we can. And I think it's important because this also connects to Black men emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally. It connects to us. And I want to speak specifically for Black men. And I would love for us to be an example of talking about overcoming tragedies. Because as I mentioned to you all, the person who introduced me to OutKast, Darren Fulgham, Smoke, is no longer with us. And he's no longer with us because he died by suicide in 2004, the year before I graduated college. We grew up together, and he exposed me to so many different things. And he's the reason that I was able to become who I was in college, and this appreciation for this group, all of these things that's connected, and things that was going on for him that I had no idea about was so difficult that he decided, I no longer want to be here. And he decided to take his own life. And to this day, I still don't know why. I will never know why. But what I do know is his legacy still lives on through me. And even talking about it is something that I didn't do until Dr. Magee and I opened up the door to talk about OutKast, where I shared with Dr. Magee what I'm sharing with you all not too long ago that I never shared. So this whole time we've been connected since 2000s, and I've been holding on this secret and didn't share it because the place and space wasn't available. And this is not what I was taught and told. But Dr. McGee and I had a moment where we were able to connect and share about life from a Black male perspective because we were talking about things that we usually don't talk about. And it opened the door of healing and overcoming the trials of tragedy to live life abundantly by experiencing these things, grieving the loss, and living life differently without. And that couldn't happen without OutKast bringing this to our attention. So I wanted to share my truth. And Dr. McGee, I would love for you to share anything you'd like about this. And that's what I love about music. That's what I love about culture. That's what I love about the South. That's what I love about us. That's what I love about men. We have the ability to do things that people don't think we can or we will. And a lot of times we love proving it by showing you who we really are. Your thoughts?
Um, it's same thing. I lost a cousin recently. Um, and I say cousin, but this was my brother. Because I said my closest sibling to me is 8 years older, but this person, my cousin, and my cousin Marcus, um, was 11 months older. And it's 4 years ago since he passed away. Again, died by suicide. And the ironic thing is, this was the person who probably, I mean, I always knew I was going to college. I saw him do it. He was, I mean, if it was a superhero to me, that was him. And he had every OutKast album. Ironically, he went to school in Atlanta. Um, he pledged before I did. I mean, probably in my mind, I would consider it the one mistake he made because he did pledge alpha. I won't poo-poo on anybody's fraternity. And his joke, it's again, if you know, you know, it's Greek love. But I mean, I can remember the times riding together, listening to OutKast. And then again, when he was in Atlanta, and as I was introduced to Nashville because of him, I was introduced to my ex-wife because of him. So it's so much. For the longest time, I wouldn't talk about it. I would just bury it down. And like you said, thinking about the conversation that we had just around the music of OutKast allowed us to have this shared, well, we had this shared experience that we did not share with each other. Not fully, not talking about it, and then thinking about the influence that both of these people had in our lives and the roles that they played, and really thinking that I probably would not have been where I am today. And you talk about somebody who thought differently and showed me it was okay. I mean, he was all the things that I wanted to be. He was extremely intelligent. He was a nerd. He'd tell you he was a nerd. But he was a ladies' man. I don't know that I ever got to be that way, at least not early on. He was just this. He was that person. He was that dude. And you know, again, whatever he was going through in life got to be so painful, and I know that it had to be painful when the strongest, best person that you know decides that I can't do this anymore. And it makes me wonder sometimes what could I have said? What didn't I notice? And it's not about me. I've definitely learned that. But I think about what conversations could we have had if we had been going deeper. So to your point, for men, I heard a statistic recently that said if 5 people in the morgue died by suicide, 4 of them are men. And that's just in general. And then I think about that with Black men, that we have beautiful lives, beautiful experiences, and we deal with systemic struggles and issues and barriers still to this day. And I'm not saying we have to be defined by that, but in our time, growing up in the 80s and 90s, statistically speaking, the fact that we both came from low socioeconomic backgrounds, we went to college in a small rural college in Alabama, we should not be who we are today. We should not be the 3 doctors. But just like the original pack, the pack we made, we got here. And it wasn't all sunshine and roses and rainbows and unicorns. And it wasn't even a direct path for all of us. But we got here. And we didn't have to be the thing that was supposed to be thrust upon us. And again, we were an outcast to the statistics. We were
Come on.
outliers.
Come on.
And we are still outliers. So, and we're outcast by the simple fact that we're sitting on a podcast talking about mental health.
Yes.
In my previous episodes and visits here, I told you, go get a therapist, go talk to somebody, go get your buddy or friend, whatever you want to call it. And I still hold on to that, but we're talking about it. And we talk about it all the time, what it does for me. I tell you about David. David is my therapist. And how David hit me over the head not too long ago
With
with
a few
some
honey
things
buns.
that he made me say, David, I ain't ask you all this. I did. I pay you for this, but I ain't pay you for this right here. And so I think it's important to bring this full circle to say it's okay because being outcast has allowed us to thrive.
Come on.
Again, we were able to be outliers to the statistics. You don't have to be.
Yeah.
So if your marriage bad, look inside before you maybe need to look away. Because you're part of that problem, one way or the other. If
Come on.
your physical health bad, talk to somebody. Talk to your mental health counselor, and then talk to your medical professional. But just talk. We don't do it enough. I'm tired of losing people, getting phone calls. I got a call last week about a friend of mine passed away, 44, heart attack, going through a divorce, all these things. And it makes me think, what wasn't said that could have been said? Again, I can't say it for our very religious, spiritual people. No man knows the day or the hour. But I also know that when you pile things down and you don't address them, eventually the trash blasts out of the can. And that can be metaphorically, or that can be literally. The trash that's busting out is causing our hearts to stop. It's causing our brains to stop. It's causing us to stop living. So just take the chance. And again, through connection, embrace your outcast. Because you are. We all are. If we really think about it. Because we're all unique. We are similar, yet we are unique. We all have a thing that we're supposed to do. And you don't have to be a doctor. Being a doctor don't make me better than anybody. It's a title. I mean, I earned it. Please trust and believe. Dr. Branch earned his.
Yes, Lord. They ain't get easy way, and they ain't honorary either. Okay, no shade, no disrespect to Boosie and them. Boosie and Cat Williams.
Yeah.
No shade, no disrespect.
Proudly display yours. But as they say, I got mine out the mud. All the way out. Dirty.
I love it. Love it, man. I appreciate you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I feel as though, again, full circle, this is a reunion. Different versions of us, who we were, who we are, who we're becoming, our lived experiences, our family, our brothers from other mothers who were cousins in identity, but brothers in love. This is a reunion because we're talking about it. We're making it real. It happened to both of us. And that's something we didn't even know until recently because we decided to have conversations in the basement. And for those who know, y'all been listening, y'all been rocking. When you go in the basement, magic happens, but you have to be willing to give yourself permission to go there. And what Dr. Magee is sharing with you all, I'm going to reiterate where I'm a Black male therapist who has a therapist, and big shout out to Dr. Ho. That's my therapist. And I'm a unicorn, except I'm Black with a gold horn because I'm willing to do the work on me. And this podcast represents us because it's growing, it's growth. It's us being outcasts on display. And because we have a voice, we've chosen to use it. That's being an outcast as well. And I want to finish off before we leave this basement with a quote that came from André 3000 during their acceptance award for being inducted to Hall of Fame. André said a lot of great things happen in small rooms. And he was talking about the dungeon and the dungeon family. I think about this podcast. I think about a college dorm room Spieth Hall. I think about Pearl, Mississippi, Dayton, Ohio, University of West Alabama, Pi Delta chapter. These are all small rooms. And now we're in the biggest room on the biggest stage of them all, regardless of where we came from. This is where we are. So as we get ready to close out and thinking about reunions and reconnection and shouting out the men, Andre 3000, Big Boy, that helped us, that was a part of our journey and still a part of our legacy. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? And we're not leaving on the highest note because we just got out the basement. Now we in the living room, but we finna go in the kitchen before we get out of here. So fire us up, Dr. Magee. Anything you got before we get out of here today?
I just say, embrace your outcast. Don't run from him. Look at him in the mirror and say, you know what? That's the me I'm supposed to be. I mean, maybe you already have, but if you haven't, go back to the mirror and say, you know, I'll bring in another artist, Layla Hathaway. Sometimes you got to make the mirror your best friend. It hadn't always been my best friend. I was scared to look into it and see the things that I needed to change. And I was even scared to see the real me reflected back. But you know what? I embraced my outcast. Just like I did then, and not just in the good times, in the bad times, in the terrible times, because that's who I am. And that's the one place, that's the one person, the one thing that I never want to lose is to be different. I embrace my differences. I love them. I'm still Southern. I am countryer than cornbread. I still appreciate a good Cadillac rolling down the street. And maybe a stinking Lincoln too, you know.
Both of them.
And if you know, being from the South, those were
Both
your
of
two
them.
luxury cars. It wasn't a
All day.
Mercedes, a BMW, all that. It was Cadillac and Lincoln.
Come on.
Get you one.
Yeah.
And so go back to go find your Cadillac and your Lincoln moments and just sit back and embrace your outcast and just ride real smooth, turn on Southern playlistic Cadillac music, play his ball, listen to the bells, I want you to feel it though. Turn everything else off, close your eyes, imagine you on that Cadillac on a good spring, warm Southern day that is the wind blowing and you just got the windows down and it's your favorite thing. Think about your favorite person and y'all just riding out chilling. So do that for me. And then call your therapist if you ain't got one.
I told y'all we were going in the kitchen. He gonna fire you up. I told you. And I'm giving the same. This culture, this genre, this artist, this dynamic duo, these men, these brothers have enhanced our lives in the most personal and professional way because even to this day, we still listen to the music. And to me, when it comes to OutKast, I don't think you're listening anymore. You're experiencing. Because no matter what year, no matter what album, it's an experience every time we put it on because we may hear something or notice something we didn't notice before. We'll connect dots that we couldn't connect because of where we were at the time. And everything makes more sense now that we're here currently. And I feel as though for many of us, it's a struggle with our closed-minded thinking or our limited exposure to people, places, and things that makes it hard for us to truly understand the concepts that's been given to us right in our face. These are the breadcrumbs. There's always information that we need that's hidden in plain sight right in front of us. That's a breadcrumb. If you eat enough breadcrumbs, you're going to end up with a loaf. You eat enough loaves of bread, you're going to wake up in Panera. That's where me and Dr. Magee wake up every morning, Panera, because we do not run out of bread, baby, in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And do you know why? It's because we're outcasts. So with that said, I want to end this episode with a quote from André 3000 because that's how we began it. But this quote goes back to when they first won their Grammy back in the 90s, where they knew No one was listening to him. No one was rocking with him, but the people who were, that was the culture. And when you connect to a culture, you connect to a movement. And he said this, but it's like this though. I'm tired of folks. You know what I'm saying? Closed-minded folks. It's like we got a demo tape and nobody want to hear it. But it's like this though. The South got something to say. And that's all I got to say. We represent the South. This has been another episode of 3 Parallels Podcast with your host, the brother Dr. Jason Branch, where I coach neurodivergent, high-achieving professionals overcome their old self of perfectionism by diving into embracing who they were, changing who they are, and making room for who they're trying to become. If that is you, you are in the right place. You are an outcast. Welcome to the family. That is it. That is all. Good night. Peace.